And the winner of the 2025 Supra Human Man of the Year is...
Mr. Ben Shortreed.
In 2020 is when I lost my hand. The first month of me in a gym, I was banging my head with bars. Taylor, he wanted to learn about me.
You were quite stern in like, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. Where you're like, look, basically I'm not going in a gym. To now somewhere where like, I can't get you out of a gym.
I found that with Supra. I started seeing changes, getting stronger, getting more comfortable. In my mind, I was like, let's go for the top spot.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
So now we have Mr. Ben Shortreed on the podcast. So before we get stuck in, we should probably address the rather large elephant in the room. You're more tanned than all three of us by a significant margin. And we've been out in Scottsdale all week. What's the secret?
Melanin too. Don't necessarily recommend it, but it works wonders.
20% off discount code, Ben 10.
Always looking to make money.
Yeah. So you probably have one of the most interesting backstories, you know, that me and Ryan have heard, because obviously you work with Taylor. But, you know, I would love for you to start from the beginning, so our listeners can kind of just really understand the journey that you've been on prior to Superhuman, and then your kind of journey with Supra, because I honestly just think it's such an awesome story.
I appreciate that. So 20 years in the insurance industry, of which the 12 prior to Supra was as a business owner. So we had a insurance agency that we started at zero, built it up to the top 300 in the United States. There's 40,000 agencies in the U.S.
Wow.
And sold that big. But prior to that, I was an infantry Marine in the United States Marine Corps. And I specialized in demolition and rockets. So anything that went boom, it was a lot of fun.
The only thing that goes boom is in our pants.
Yeah.
I'm good at that. All three of you smiled. So keep that in mind. I was an infantry Marine, then went into business. And we'll fast forward a little bit. So in 2019, we hosted a little girl from Colombia with the premise that, hey, we'll show her hope, inspiration. There's more to the world than what she knows. This was during Christmas. And my wife and I at the time were single, made a good decent amount of money, and said, all right, hey, let's do this. So we brought this girl home. And right around Christmas Eve, she asked us to be her parents. We had never talked about being adopted or adopting a child before. And without hesitation, we said, yeah, we're going to do it. So this was 2019. What happened in 2020? COVID. COVID hit. So that delayed the process a little bit. And that's part of my story because everything closed down, and particularly public pools. Now, we like to go to the pool. So we put a pool in at our house, and above ground, nothing fancy like that. But then during that time, June hit, and in Wisconsin, it was really hot. It was in the high 80s that day, and the buddy that helped me put it in the pool said, hey, can I come over with my kids? You know, he came over, and I said, absolutely. You help me out? He came over, and then the neighbors came over, and next thing you know, we had a little party. Then around 9 o'clock that night, he's like, hey, I brought some fireworks. Do you mind if we light them off? Again, back to the boom. I'm like, yeah, let's light off some fireworks. He lit one off. I lit one off. And then he brought out the mortars. So these were the little round mortars that you drop in the tube, go up in the air, things go big. And I go, what should I load this in? I've never fired one before. He's like, hey, let's grab one of these tubes we just used. So we grabbed the tube, and I'm walking it over, getting ready to light it, and boom, my life changed forever. It in that moment, all I remember is the flash. I remember the concussion. I didn't feel any pain, and it wasn't until I was walking back towards my friends, the expression on their face, they're like, man, it's not good. And I looked down, and my left hand was gone, absolutely gone. So at that moment, I stayed calm. Shock kicked in, and on the way to the hospital, I was thinking about three things. I was like, man, my life just changed forever. I was like, will my wife still love me? And then will we be able to adopt our little girl? Because this girl was banking on us. Got to the hospital, and it's all kind of a blur. The last thing I remember is laying on the table. They cut my pants off, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope it's not too cold in here. You guys know where I'm going.
Hands blown off. I hope it's not cold.
I hope it's not cold here.
Sounds like a strange doctor. I've just put my hand off. Pull your pants down.
And next thing you know, I woke up and bandaged up. Now, I had a pity party for myself for about a half an hour after the surgery. I was like, poor me. Why did this happen? Oh, what am I going to do? And I remember to this day, one of the technicians came in. It wasn't a doctor, it was a technician. And he said, hey, listen, it was along these lines. Accidents happen. They happen to good people. They happen to bad people. They happen to all people in between. It's your attitude moving forward. And I was like, damn, you're right. Nobody wants to listen to me bitch. Nobody wants to listen to me complain. From that day on, I got thinking about a three-legged dog running around. You guys have probably seen videos or seen three-legged dogs. They're happy. They're playing. Life is good. It's like, I can do that. You know, I'll make this work. The tough part during COVID was nobody could see me. One visitor a day. I was literally in the hospital for 3-4 days, and they're like, boom, here's your discharge papers. See you later. No therapy. It's like, go figure it out. And it's interesting. I was 41 years old at the time. So you get home and, you know, first thing you get in the shower, you're like, okay, how am I going to wash my hair? Or, you know, it's not so bad. I'm a right-hand dominant, thank God, and I lost my left hand. So you think about it, the left armpit, pretty easy. All of a sudden you're like, how am I going to wash my right armpit? You know, things like that, just little things. Get out of the shower, towel off. Just picture how you towel off. 2 hands typically on the back, everything else. Try to get dressed. How am I going to put a sock on? My belts, my pants, like everything changed. So it was a puzzle, which was, it's taught me a lot of patience, a lot of patience. The first week was, you know, the learning process, and I had euphoric feelings. The feelings I had was, the only way I can describe it is like a newborn that touches things for the first time. Everything was hypersensitive, and I could still feel my hand. I could still move my hand, even though the hand wasn't there. And that's called phantom feeling. So I could have these sensations like wind on the fingers and water on the fingers and just, again, hypersensitive. And then after the first week, phantom pain hit. And phantom pain has been and probably will be the most torturous pain experience I've ever had my entire life. And I had 4 distinct feelings out of the gate. And I'll go through them because I'll do my best to visualize these for people. But the first one was my fingernails. Now keep in mind, I don't have fingernails. At first they started being tugged up, like somebody was pulling on them. And then they started being ripped off. And this wasn't just once, this wasn't twice, this was constant, minute after minute, day over day. So that's pain number 1. The second one was my pointer finger and my ring finger. Picture a pin going straight down the bone in both of those fingers. That one was sharp, intense, not as constant as the fingernail pulling, but it was there. The third one was picture a fist and your knuckles being dragged across gravel, just swinging over gravel and getting rubbed off. The fourth one was I could actually feel my palm being blown or ripped or tore away from my hand. So I lived with these 4 pains for 4 weeks, 24 hours a day. Then at week 4, I started getting electrocuted. And I could feel the electricity going all the way up my arms. And it was an intense shock in addition to these 4 pains. During this time, I was on opioids. So I was on Oxycontin. I was on morphine. And it was so intense that they sent me Narcan. And that's how high of a dosage I was on. In addition, I was on nerve drugs, muscle relaxers. And around week 4 is where I was no longer Ben. I was somebody totally different. I was at a point, I was getting close to a breaking point. So week 4 through week 6, so those last 2 weeks, I started getting my wills ready. I started getting my life insurance policies out. I had my passwords out. Like I was ready to end it. And that's not me, because I love life. But I was thinking to myself, there's no way I can go forward with this. And the only thing that held on or kept me hanging on was my little girl. I'm like, I can't let this girl down. And fortunately, one night I broke at midnight, and I was like, I'm done. Like, this is it. My wife called the physician, got me in, and fortunately, there was an experimental device called the Sprint PNS, which is an electrical 90-day device that sends electricity down my arm, and it killed my phantom pain, my phantom feeling immediately. It was a lifesaver for me. So that was a win. That was a big win. Fast forward, we ended up adopting our little girl. So
Congrats.
one of the highlights of my life. But that's when Supra, started coming into the picture. In 2020 is when I lost my hand. Through 2024, it was very hard to look in the mirror. At 41 years old, when I lost my hand, you lose a body part and you're not the same guy. And in my mind, the equalizer was money. All right. I can't be physically fit. I can't look like, you three in the room right here, but I'm going to trump you with money. So I made the most money.
And you do.
Yeah, and you've done that. Yeah.
So I made the most money I've ever made in my adult life from that point, from 2020 to 2024. And I crushed it. And on paper, everything looked good, but this will always stick out to me. The first time I went public, I was very hidden. COVID helped me because I got to work at home. Nobody got to see me. When I went out in public, I had my arm wrapped or a long sleeve on, so people weren't really paying attention. But we were at the Fontainebleau in Miami, and that's the first time at a pool party. I didn't want to go, but I had to go for work. And man, it was the first time I had to get out at the pool, shirt off, expose everything, and it was extremely uncomfortable. I mean, it was very mentally tough for me to do that. And got back home, and John caught me on a Monday morning, and with this Get You ad, his 8-minute, his 9-minute Get You ad. And I have never heard of Supra Human before. Didn't have a clue who John Matson was before. The ad was confident but cocky, borderline arrogant, and I liked that. And I watched that whole 8-9-minute video, and I said to myself, all right, if he's going to lay it out there and he's that confident, I'm gonna take his word for it and go for this. So that's what I did.
Amazing.
It's yeah, I've just been sat in awe like that for that whole story.
Yeah.
So now let's go from Supra onwards. You get lumped with Mr. Taylor, the doc.
Really high expectations. Like,
Unfortunately, all the other coaches were full at the time. And, but no, I mean, because you guys have a fantastic relationship, and you've been in the program now over 2 years.
It's going on 2 years, so February of 24.
Yeah, and so how was it first, kind of initially working with Taylor, and kind of how was that? I guess like blossomed into the kind of like the friendship that you guys have now. It's the progress that we've seen your before and after pictures and things, and we've seen you at the events in the past. But just how has that kind of friendship helped you from a coaching standpoint? Aside from, I mean, you look fantastic. Like we could talk about that all day, but just I guess like the psychology side of it, and having someone in your corner kind of guiding you throughout this process. Like how has that been working with Taylor?
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning a little bit. At first you have Dr. Taylor Waters, and I'm like, oh, doctor. And you get on the first Zoom call with him, and him and I are, we're doing this. He's gauging me, I'm gauging him. We're trying to read each other. And
he can't read.
But it was interesting because Taylor didn't come into it saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. He wanted to learn about me. Hey, talk to me about your lifestyle. Talk to me about what you do. He was learning how he was going to customize his plan for me and how we were going to work together. And we talked about my mental struggle at the time. I wasn't comfortable going into the gym. We talked about amputation. And I said, have you worked with amputees before? And he had limited experience, but some experience with it, because upper limb amputees, which is what I am, is only 2% of the amputation population. Most amputees are lower limbs, so everything or a lot of the materials designed around lower limb amputees, and diabetes is the number one cause of that. But the fact that he took the time to learn who I was and understand what I was, and then built a program around, my lifestyle, my needs, my capabilities, was extremely important. And the other thing that really resonated with me was he could have jumped into macros right away. Now, keep in mind, they don't teach macros, and why they don't teach macros to anybody in the United States blows my mind, because at 41, I didn't understand macros. Or excuse me, at that time I was 45, didn't understand macros. And he made it simple for me: calories, protein. Had he gone technical, like into the fats, into the carbs, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it. So I'm very appreciative of him understanding my needs, working within my needs. And then to answer your question about the friendship and the bond we have, I've commented on the forums about this. Like, coaches should sign an NDA, because Taylor could write a book about me. He knows more about me than 99% of people. That's the trust. That's the relationship we have right now and friendship we have.
I actually remember one of the early fly-ins, I believe, and it may have been the first time you guys met in person, and you spent like a good hour in the gym figuring out like what exercises worked.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember that?
Glory gains.
Glory gains. Yeah, I should remember that.
Well, that was it. It was, I think, because you were uncomfortable going in a gym, and understandably as well.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I haven't, like, if I had lost my hand now, I'd feel uncomfortable now doing it, and I know it all now. But just going in and having to reel it, but almost having to start from scratch, where you don't feel comfortable about being in shape and just having to go in and get it done. But like, you trained, one thing you've always been able to do is work hard. Like all through your business life, and then through your career, you've shown the ability to commit yourself and work hard. So all I had to do was put a plan in place that you could do, and you were going to graft doing it. So like, you were doing body weight stuff from home, like whatever. You had like the treadmill from home. We were doing, we were just sort of changing movements so we could get them done. You had the weighted vest and things. And then when we met in person, obviously my job was to deal with a lot of the clients, but luckily you guys, I was like, can you guys deal with the rest of them and let me just go with Ben and just let's see what he can do? Because that was almost like the confidence building. Like, give me an hour just to get his confidence up. I can see what he can do. He can see what he can do. And then that allows me to go away and now build the program even more. And then now it's like, I can't get you out of a gym.
Right.
It's gone from somewhere where like, I don't even want to step foot in one, to now somewhere where like, you don't miss sessions. Like, it's become a key part of your life.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit as well about how that mindset shift from where you were to where you are now, because I've seen it in you as well. Not so much like, even on our first call, like, you're quite a stubborn, for lack of a better term, stubborn fucker. And
I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment.
Excuse my French. But I remember you were saying you were quite like stern in like, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And we hear that a lot. And more often than not, I'm like, we'll see. Because a lot of people who say that don't. They say it because it sounds cool, but they don't do it. But so I know, and then you go out and you are one of those guys who does do it. But what was it like starting from somewhere where it's obviously a vulnerable world to enter, given the position that you were in, whereas now, you are an inspiration for a lot of people, even myself. Like, I see some of the stuff that you're doing. Like, you sent me the video over doing weighted dips.
I wanted to bring that up because I've seen it as well.
I'm like, man, like, what a savage. Like, that's such a badass thing to do.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like the mindset change you've had from that first call where you're like, look, basically I'm not going in a gym because I don't feel comfortable going in. I'm just going to build one from home, to now the guy who's doing weighted dips in front of a whole gym of people.
Yeah, I think phase one was extremely important for me, in that I had to shed the fat off. So I was at 203. We got down to 158-ish, 156. And that was all at home. And then I saw a muscle gain just doing the stuff we were doing at home, which is body weight, push-ups, weighted vest. And it got, so we did that from February to October. And in my mind, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to bulk at home or put on the muscle that I want to put on. I'm like, I need to turn the dial and do a gym. And frankly, it was a little intimidating for me at first, which I don't use that word a lot because there's very little that I'm not afraid to fail. That was just a different game for me. And the first month of me in a gym, it was, I was banging my head that, with bars. You know, I was a monkey
You
fucking a
forget-
football.
you forget-
Excuse my French. I mean,
You forget when you're
yeah.
a beginner. It's like even when you see guys try and take the plates off like a bar on the ground,
Yeah.
and they're trying to like drag it because they
Yeah.
haven't learnt the lift and
Yeah,
the lift and
yeah.
straight, and you forget all of those things. That It's like you put me on a building site and I'll smack my head on everything.
Yeah.
But in the gym, it's kind of you learn it. So I guess
So
you went through that whole
it took me
process.
it took me a month to really get acclimated, and you know, people at first wanted to help me, and I'm like, no, don't help me. And I was working out with Owen yesterday, and he was trying to help me. I said, quit helping me. Like I don't. I told Taylor, like, don't treat me any different than anybody else in the program. Like I don't want any special. Now the time you spent with me to understand and learn my capabilities, that's different than don't treat me different.
Sure.
And but then once that first month came and I started seeing changes, getting stronger, getting more comfortable, then I just started running with it. And it goes back to, it's good seeing the visuals on the forums. It's good seeing the transitions. You know, SHX was my turning point last year. So I would say I was 75% committed before SHX. And then it wasn't until I got to SHX and I saw the Kirk Jones, the Barrett Popes, you know, these people hitting the Hall of Fame, and seeing what they started at, what they achieved. I'm like, I can do that. I will do that. It's not I can do that. Like I'm going to do that. And it just totally changed my mindset and made the gym even more of a focus. And I went in 25 thinking to myself, and this was in my head, and maybe it's a little arrogant, maybe it's cocky, but I was like, I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. Now I want Superhuman of the Year because that is the top of the top. Like I have the best coach or one of the best coaches, not to knock you two down.
The best is fine.
And,
you can stop that.
like if I follow his plan to a T, execute heavily, go with intensity, I was like, I'm going to hit Hall of Fame. It's like, now it's like, let's go for the top spot. And if it happens, great, but at least I put it on the table.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So just to wrap it up, if you could say to someone who, you know, maybe has had a life-changing injury, you know, or something that's really just, it's going to change the way that they have to live now moving forward. And maybe they're in a similar position where it's, you know, painkillers and things, you know, fitness is the least of your concerns because you're just figuring out how to do the most basic things. What would your advice be to someone like that? You know, and this could even be outside of, you know, this doesn't have to be a plug for Supra, but just because your story's so powerful, just, you know, what would you say to someone that's going through something like that?
There's so many, there's a couple different lessons here. One is people will only listen to sympathy in a pity party so long. At the end of the day, the world keeps moving and you have to as well. So what happened. Stop, assess, pivot, move forward. Like that's all you can do. Mental outlook, positivity. You know, I look at it this way. I could be dead, or I could have been even more severely injured than what I was. So I also look for the positives in the situation. So just have and be surrounded by the right people. You do need that positivity around you. One thing about Supra that really resonates with me is there's 3 times in my life where I felt like I didn't have an identity. One was graduating high school, and I didn't know what I was going to do after high school. So I didn't know what path I was going to go. I ended up joining the Marine Corps. The second time I lost my identity was after being discharged from the Marine Corps. It's like, what's next for me? And then the third time was when I exited my last company, sold that company. It's like, what's next for me? I have found that with Supra, with the community, that identity, and it's been very helpful and strong for me.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Ben, thank you so much for jumping on the call. Congratulations.
fellas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you at SHX this year.
Likewise.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.